massive money mistakes that I've made in my coaching and consulting career that you do not want to make. If you make these mistakes like I did, you will have to pay for them with time and money. The good thing is that you can avoid them very easily by watching this video. You're not at $1 million yet because you haven't made 8 figures in mistakes like I made yet. I'm going to add up exactly how much each mistake has cost me in each era of my career so far, and I'm doing this so hopefully you save the money that I spent. By the end, you'll see how much money I've lost to date to get to where I am today. Plus, for every mistake, I'm going to break down how you could avoid something like that, or if it was a necessary mistake with an important lesson in it, I'll show you how you can learn from me instead of paying for it yourself, making your way to your first million way faster. So we'll start in the early era of young Max. When I wanted to become a dating coach in my early 20s, one day I got really intimidated by my friend who claimed he was already living off coaching. He had a cool looking website, his game was so much better than mine, so that kind of made me have doubts, and I didn't take any action for like 2 months because I wasn't good enough yet. You need to realize that there's no good enough before you take action, it only comes with action. Everyone is fucking fake, nobody makes as much money as they claim, and if there's someone actually doing better than you, just see it as proof that anyone can do it instead of being discouraged by it. It was such a bad mistake because it could have been avoided if I hadn't been such a pussy. Once I forced myself to actually start my business anyways, I actually ended up making on average $1,750 a month. So the 2 months I missed cost me a total of $3,500 US. That wasn't the only mistake caused by my feeling of not good enough though. In fact, one of my lowest paying clients actually taught me this one quite directly. He said to me, "Hey Max, many of my lawyer friends," he was a lawyer, "wouldn't take you seriously, so you gotta increase your prices if you wanna work with people that can pay you a lot of money." So charging too low prices when I started equals low quality clients, because I thought I wasn't good enough yet to charge high prices, right? So obviously I strongly recommend you to charge high prices right away and use it as a positive pressure to commit to your really first clients and deliver them great results. For me, that was kind of a good mistake because the lesson helped me then move on and make my first $5,000 to $15,000 a month with my first dating coaching business. And how much it cost me? I charged $75 to $150 for the first 20 clients. If I had instead focused on only the top 10% of the 20 people and closed, these 2 people for conservative $2,000, I would have made $4,000. So let's add that up to the tally here. But little did I know, I was about to get clinically burnt out, which almost cost me my life. It's because I made the mistake of seeing off time as the opposite of hard work instead of seeing it as part of hard work, right? Look, if you're putting too much of your identity on your ability to work hard, that's the exact kind of thing that will lead to burnout. You're more than your ability to work hard. So in order to avoid burnout, you need to realize rest is a form of productivity, not the opposite, but only if you do it right. Just like you hustle with full focus and full commitment, be fully committed to recovery as well, without exceptions. That means no checking your phone after 8 p.m. or no checking your phone when you're at dinner with your girlfriend. You're fully committed to the rest, all right? This was a very bad mistake, of course, for me, because it cost me my mental health for around 4 years. It probably didn't cost me a lot of money per se, it's hard to quantify, but it definitely cost me a lot of mental health. Now, funny enough, once I incorporated that into my life, I actually started making way more money, but then I almost lost everything. Because I used to honestly think, oh, I probably spend like $5K a month, right? Very conservative. But then I started tracking all my expenses and I realized I was spending easily over $30,000 a month on average on like luxury dinners, shoes, belts, first class trips. Like I started spending money on all these luxury goods instead of on cash flow generating assets. So please, let this be your lesson here. Using labor to buy luxuries is what we call a dumb man's move. Instead, use labor to buy assets. Then have those assets pay for your luxuries, right? So making this one is very common and bad. It's just a super avoidable mistake, mostly because I bought a bunch of luxury goods that didn't really appreciate in value and that I derive zero pleasure from anymore. So spending those $30,000 a month for about 2 years instead of $10,000 a month, which honestly still gives you a pretty epic life, adds up to $20,000 times 24. That's around $480,000. If I had invested that in something that gives me a conservative 10% annual return, that's $48,000 a year since 2019, which equals $2,088,000 I've lost until now from that mistake. Now, moving on to the second era of what I call kind of advanced max, right? This is where I'm already running a business. This is where I have a team. This is where I'm used to making at least 2-3 million a year. One of the first things that happened to me back then was scaling too fast, aka not anticipating constraints, how we call it. There was too many clients, not enough procedures to handle those clients, too many folks weren't held accountable enough, and we just should have given more attention to every single client. It happened because I was simply too busy enjoying life, thinking it will always be awesome, it will always be this way, which was a very, very immature mindset. Nowadays, my mindset is with great success comes great responsibility. Back then, I was like, great success means great fun, right? So please understand that you need to always focus on over-delivering no matter how well you're doing and no matter how much people just want to buy it from you anyways, right? However, I still consider this a good mistake since that painful lesson brought us to the industry-leading standards that we have deployed now for our clients. So ultimately, if it helps our current clients, I'll be happy to have taken that hit temporarily. So given a very conservative upsell rate of 25% of happy clients that could have been upsold, plus 100% positive review rating, which is unrealistic, I get it, but still, I'd say we lost around $200K per month for the 14 months it took me to learn that lesson, so that equals $2.8 million, Jesus Christ! All right, expensive lesson. And even when I learned that lesson, right around the corner was the other lesson, and that was me relying too much on outsourcing. I was working with people who were supposed to run my ads, great guys, smart guys, but I just couldn't make my ads work internationally. They weren't used to that. So I told myself, I trust them to do their thing. When in reality, I was kind of too lazy to really look into the numbers and take responsibility. So let this be your lesson. When you outsource, trust everyone, but cut the cards. Meaning, hire the best people possible, but be involved. At least understand what's going on. Ask to look at the numbers. If you don't like the numbers or if they don't make sense for you, hop on a call with these people, make them make sense, and then tell them what they need to be doing instead of just saying, it's not my responsibility, whatever, they're doing their job, right? The result for me was we spent $60,000 to $100,000 on ads a month without getting anything back. I was making a lot of money on organic, but nothing from ads. We just spent on ads. It was such a bad mistake. I could have learned that lesson after 1 month, not 24. So this happened from 2019 to 2021. That's 2 years, given a very conservative 2x ROAS that we could have had on average on the $70K a month ad spend. And I know 2x ROAS is super conservative. We have much higher now, but that's $140,000 that we lost per month times 24 equals $3.36 million on top of what I already lost. I can't even do that, man. This is so much fucking money. I had no idea. Like, I knew we lost a lot of money through the mistakes, but seeing it tallied up so far, I don't even know if I can do the rest of the video, man. All right. Funnily enough, that actually brought me to one of the biggest epiphanies on automating your business. For years, I actually built my company around people instead of structures. Meaning, I just let people do their thing. I'm like, oh, I hired a person to do my sales. Yeah, good luck. They're an expert anyways. Instead of creating standard operating procedures so everything is replicable and the corresponding internal training videos so everybody new that I hire gets trained automatically. I didn't do any of that. I was just like, you're here, do your job. I trust you, do your thing. Now, that mistake happened because I projected kind of my goals onto everyone else's goals, thinking, well, of course, everyone here that I hire will stay with us forever, right? Wrong. People often kind of have their own goals and just see working in your company as a temporary stint for a couple years, and then they leave, and then the company doesn't work because there's no procedures that a new person can take over and there's no internal training. So please learn from my mistakes and build structures that need as little human input as necessary. Create automated internal trainings for everything. So when you do have A players coming in that are new, they just need to operate your standard operating procedures and everything works smoothly. Kind of like these epic mech robots that they're using in the Matrix Reloaded when they're defending Zion from the machines, you know, like someone's shooting and using the mech robot and then that person is incapacitated and then someone else just comes in and continues the shooting. Like that's kind of how you want to have it in your business. For me, not having that was a very, very bad mistake since I could have just built SOPs and internal trainings from the start, but again, I was lazy and immature. This cost me a lot of time and nerves. Being scared of key staff leaving and letting them step over boundaries because of that, it's impossible to quantify with money, because once they did leave, it cost me tons of time having to figure out how I can replicate what they did. Anyways, if you think the mistakes you've heard so far were bad, just wait for this next one. It was my most expensive mistake in terms of monetary value so far. After my first multi-seven-figure business, I was a pure know-it-all, thinking nobody could teach me anything. I already know everything. Everything I touch turns to gold. Look, first successes always end up in an inflated ego for you. Right? You're making more than anyone in your family is making. You think you're the shit. You surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Instead of being a know-it-all, though, make sure you always stay a learn-it-all. It sounds cheesy, I get it. But the learn-it-all kind of character trait got you to where you are right now in the first place, all right? Plus, you want to surround yourself with people that make you feel nervous, almost inferior when you're hanging out with them because they're so much further ahead than you. And not only hang out with people that make you feel good because you're better than them, right? Hanging out with people that make you feel inferior is the only way to actually induce growth. However, I'm still gonna say it was a good mistake for me, because sometimes you need a lot of pain to learn a lesson, and you can't learn it without that pain. For me, that mistake was very costly, all right? I mean, the lessons that I know now could have easily made me, what, 700,000 plus a month, instead of the average 350K a month that I made for 2.5 years it took me to learn that lesson. So that equals $10.5 million. Are you kidding me? I knew it was the most expensive mistake, but I didn't know it was that expensive. That's not the only mistake, though, that your ego can cause you to make. In fact, once I started making some serious money, I started focusing purely on what I can get versus what I can give to my staff, to my clients, to the people around me. I was under the impression that I deserve to chill and let everyone work for me instead of continuing to push and improve, which is the core essence of taking responsibility, right? I was just like, this is the fruit of all my years of hard labor, after all, right? Now, look. So if you want to be someone that people look up to, a great leader, so to speak, please realize that the very definition of leadership is to serve the people around you. You serve them with all your power, with all your love, so that when the day comes where you are weak, that they carry you. As long as you serve people, nothing bad can ever happen to you, ever. But I'd still consider that a good mistake, since it's an extremely valuable lesson that not enough people even get to learn at all. So I'm grateful that I learned it, right? Now, while I cannot really quantify how much money it cost me, it did cost me a lot of time and frustration because people in my company could have used my help, but I didn't give it to them, and that of course ended up hurting my business and our overall growth. Now, leadership doesn't only mean serving people. In fact, one of the sneaky ways to get sabotaged is making the costly mistake of tolerating a bad sales team and a bad sales manager, or even any hire, quite frankly. I've had a very bad sales manager for about 2-3 years. He was crushing it when it came to warm traffic, because selling to fans that are like, I love your stuff, can I buy from you, is very different from selling to cold traffic, people that don't know you at all. So my sales manager didn't care about stepping up, didn't want to sell to cold traffic people because it was more work for him. So he just started sabotaging the business, slacking off, not showing up to sales calls anymore. And I didn't even realize that, because it was, again, the idea of, oh, I hired these people, I hired the sales manager, now I don't have to deal with it anymore, it's not my responsibility, yada, yada, yada. Later on, when I actually looked at it, I realized what a horrible job the sales manager did. So your takeaway is slow to hire, quick to fire. right? Look, a good hire might take you 5 months to find. I get it, but a bad hire will stay bad forever. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you tolerate. I tolerated very, very bad sales staff. That's what I got, right? You gotta have zero tolerance for non-A player sales staff, which is what we're doing now. And look at that, we're crushing it with both cold traffic and of course, especially with warm traffic. Was it a bad mistake for me? Yes. Absolutely should have been avoided. I was lazy, I was immature, and I was too afraid of conflict with our sales manager. How much did that cost me? So much. Like when we only sold organic, we probably could have made 50% more than what we did. And then when we switched to cold traffic, we literally ate shit for 1.5 years because our sales manager obviously didn't want to figure it out, aka couldn't figure it out. So overall, I would say about 2 million extra in each of the first 2 organic years, plus easily 200K extra a month in the first 18 months of cold traffic. So that tallies up to $7,600,000 that I lost from that. But it wasn't always like that. In fact, one mistake kept me from even taking the steps to hire an A-player sales team in the first place. And that mistake was I dwelled too much in the past. The regrets of the bad exit deal from my first business, the pain from getting fucked by the people that I worked with that I should have run my ads, the pain of not being as easily successful as I was years ago when the market was all easy. I was holding on to the past and blaming everything but my own lack of progress, and that just left me very bitter and in a victim mentality. So if you spend a lot of time dwelling on the shit that someone did to you in the past, write this down. Feeling sorry for yourself is a luxury for kids with rich parents, not for you, unless you have rich parents. Probably not. Look, failures are failures, but failures you understand are victories. Still, I count that as a good mistake because I see this in a lot of some of my advanced clients, so now I can pass that knowledge on to my clients. Plus, I have way more appreciation for how we're crushing it now. Way more appreciation. Now, while it's hard to quantify the cost of that in money, it definitely cost me quality of life for about 3 years, and that's already very heavy too. But turns out my mindset mistakes weren't actually done yet because now I was getting stuck trying to control every piece of my operation and therefore not working on the needle movers that really bring my business forward. So I gave off too much control, and then I got the pendulum swung into the other direction of like me trying to hold on to every single piece and controlling everything. So you know when you think you're the only one who could do this task properly, when you're constantly scared someone in your team isn't going to make the right thing and is going to make mistakes, that was so me. So lesson be learned, action is commonplace, right? Just working something in the business, but the right action, aka the needle movers, is not commonplace. That means everybody can work in their business, it's super common, but not a lot of people work on their business on the needle movers. Create a daily calendar block of 1 to 3 hours that's solely dedicated to work on the needle movers for your business. Right? Ideally, you even start your day with those needle movers before you even get to any other daily operational tasks. This is so gold. I know a lot of people are not at that level, but please realize that early on. You need to work on needle movers. That's the only way for you to actually grow. Right? This definitely makes this a very bad mistake for me because I allowed myself to be controlled by my emotions and my compulsive need for control instead of, bravely leading my company into an unknown yet brighter future. So that resulted in around 2.5 years of very little progress in my business. So assuming we could have scaled at like double the speed, I would conservatively estimate that at like $5.5 million in total opportunity cost. I'm not even feeling anything anymore. I'm just numb. It's another couple millions that I lost. Anyways, so please learn from my lesson. Once you're blessed with high amounts of organic traffic and badass enough to have cracked selling to paid traffic, then you're truly unstoppable. So definitely don't rely on pure advertising or pure organic growth. Always do both. Okay? Even if you're just doing manual outreach or whatever it is, you gotta build a personal brand. It's the best and safest way to building wealth in today's world. My mentor always says, We're in the third wave of wealth generation right now. First wave is the government-based wealth, people like Christopher Columbus who worked together with the kings and queens of Europe to generate his own wealth. The second wave is then the corporation-based wealth, you know, the Rockefellers and so on and so forth that created big corporations. And now we're actually in the third wave of wealth creation, which is the rise of the individuals. People like Mr. Beast, for example. These are all personal brands and they're absolutely crushing it via the help of social media. So you absolutely need to build a personal brand. I actually made a free video. This is shameless self-promotion here. I made a free video where I actually copy the weird tricks from some of the biggest content creators in the world on how to go viral like crazy organically. I'm gonna put a link in the description to that free secret video. I don't even have that on YouTube because I personally think it's too powerful. You can check it out. Link is down in the description. It's entirely for free. You don't need to drop your email whatsoever. Check it out. Maybe open it as a new tab and then watch it after this video. So given that we made around $3 million a year in paid traffic for 2021, 2022, and 2023, estimating a conservative extra, 50% from organic, that would be then a 4.5 million that we were missing out on. So add that on top of the tally. Now, there's one thing that's actually even worse than missing out on a Ferrari, and that is actually acting like a child. So my most immature mistake was chasing after making money the easy way, right? You know, you fall for the business models that sound much easier than what you're currently doing, and instead of focusing on your current business, you think about doing something else. But in reality, every business model is hard. They just sound easy when someone's promoting them to you. So expect every business model to be hard, okay? Deal with it. There's no magic pill. Grow up. Right? So sure, you can get lucky with some business models out there, but the important lesson here is money just amplifies who you've become. All right? If you make money the hard way, you'll gain stress tolerance, public speaking, charisma, leadership, marketing, sales, branding knowledge, and so on and so forth. Then you get the money and all these skills get amplified by your money. If you just get lucky with an easy offer for a year or two or a random crypto coin, then all you'll end up is becoming an idiot with a lot of money. And we all know that that won't last, right? So for me, 100% a bad mistake, considering that it could have been avoided if I had stayed mature enough. Just imagine all the hours I could have spent on either enjoying my life or pushing the company further that I wasted thinking of other opportunities. And by the way, a dangerous pitfall to avoid when you're growing through these hard times is the mistake that I've just recently made. Look, when you build a company up beyond the multiple 7-figure-a-year mark, you're gonna see a lot of shit. A lot of bad things are inevitably going to happen to you. People lie to you, things don't work, people talk shit about you, you lose money, and so on and so forth. I mean, obviously, you lose a lot of money. You get very paranoid through that. You start thinking about worst case scenarios all the time when you're lying in bed or when you're at dinner with your family and you're supposed to enjoy life. You're just like thinking all the time. And sure, that thinking helps you overcome everything, but it also turns you into a chronic worrier, someone who worries a lot, all right? And there's actually this super spot-on quote by Dr. Joseph Heller that really helped me overcome this issue for myself, because obviously if you worry a lot all the time, it just decreases the quality of your life. So the quote is like this: just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're out to get you. So kind of the way I interpreted that is like, okay, it's fine to be paranoid, just to be aware of the possible future outcomes, but don't dwell on them. One rule that I got from my mentor, it's great, it's the 23-1 rule. He says, spend 23 hours a day thinking about the best case scenario, because now you got quality of life, you're feeling good, you're feeling happy, you're feeling hyped about the future, and then spend 1 hour a day think about the worst case scenario. That way you're at least aware of them, you're kind of thinking of possible solutions, but you don't dwell on them. All right? For me personally, I still categorize this mistake I made as good because, you know, once you become aware of this, you can always remember to enjoy life, and then also your spidey senses still stay there, so you get the best of both worlds. All right, we've typed in all the costs into my calendar. I just have to press one more button to tally it all up. There we go. I've lost in total $34,555,500. Did I really lose that much money? That's more than I made. I lost more money than I even made.
Don't cry, don't cry.
Well, in case you're thinking, geez, Max, that's quite some expensive mistakes. Yes, they were, but you know, hindsight's always 20/20, and I did make a ton of money anyways. So some mistakes are necessary. As Alex Hormozy said, what does this quote go? It's like, I lost 10K on my way to my first 100K. I lost 100K on my way to my first million. I lost $1 million on my way to my first 10 million. And I lost 10 million on my way to the first 100 million. The bigger your goals, the more expensive the lesson, right? And he then says, like, it's not really a loss, it's the price of tuition. So that's kind of how you got to see it. I knew I was losing a lot of money from all these mistakes. Seeing it now written black on white is kind of a different thing. But then again, I made a lot of money. I almost made as much as I lost. Almost. Of course, I would have loved for it to be the other way around, but it is what it is. But you need to realize you don't need to spend money on your mistakes because you can learn from mine. Go watch this other video. It will be very helpful. See you there.